What's up, YouTube? It's your boy RushMoreRick. We're back with another reaction video. We have the 10 most brutal deaths in horror movie history. Let's tap in. Let's see what we got.
Horror movie deaths. You can split them down the middle like a piece of firewood while their family watches. You can methodically break every single bone in their body one at a time. Or you can do the one thing that's so brutal, it literally maxes out the human nervous system. I researched some of the most painful horror movie deaths in cinema history, and honestly, I kind of regret looking this stuff up. Let's start with what most people think is the worst way to go in horror movies. You know the scene. John Hurt is sitting at dinner, probably thinking about how space food tastes terrible, when suddenly his chest decides to explode. Now, here's what's wild about this whole thing. Kane gets face hugged by this spider thing earlier, right? And then he wakes up and everyone's acting like he just had this really bad hangover. The alien falls off, Kane seems fine. So naturally they all sit down for a nice.
In what world, right? Kane seems fine. In what world do we have an alien jumping on our face? You know what I'm saying? An alien putting his fucking alien balls, all that alien residuals all in your face, and it just gradually falls off, and then we just like supposed to resume our day like this nigga is fine. Sir, you're not fine. This nigga needed to be quarantined by himself. I wouldn't have let that happen. I would have made this nigga stay by himself for, I want to say, at least 48 hours of quarantine just to see what could happen. Nigga had alien dick all in his face. Pause.
Meal, because nothing says let's celebrate like nearly dying from an alien parasite. Here's where it gets medically horrifying. That thing wasn't just chilling in his chest cavity having a good time. It was growing. And when it decided to make its grand entrance, it literally tore through his sternum, which is basically the hardest bone in your chest. It's not a gentle push from the inside. That's a full-on construction jackhammer going through your ribcage. The pain receptors in your chest wall are everywhere, and I mean everywhere. So when this thing starts breaking ribs and ripping through muscle, Kane felt every single bit of it. Your chest would have more nerve endings than your arm or leg, which means the pain signals going to his brain were basically screaming at maximum volume. What's even worse is that he stayed conscious for the whole thing. You can even see him thrashing around, fully aware that his body just became a horror movie special effect. Medical experts say chest trauma causes this sharp burning pain that people describe as feeling like they're being stabbed with a hot knife. I would know because I get it randomly throughout the day sometimes. Why does this happen? I don't know. My doctor says I'm healthy, except Kane gets to feel that over his entire.
Doctor might be lying to you, bro. I ain't gonna lie. If you just randomly getting chest pains throughout the day, I'm talking about sharp shit. Knowing that you ain't, you know what I'm saying, you're not at the gym, you ain't do no type of physical activity, but you get sharp pains, burning sensations in the chest, my nigga, your doctor you need to go see a new doctor. If your doctor's saying you could be healthy, could be, but something is wrong, because that shit is not normal. It's not.
Chest cavity while watching something burst out of him. Here's the really messed up part though. The filmmakers didn't actually tell most of the actors what was actually going to happen. They just said John's going to have some kind of medical emergency during dinner. So when that puppet alien exploded out of the fake chest with actual cow intestines and blood everywhere, everyone's reactions were completely real. Apparently, Veronica Cartwright got hit with so much blood she almost passed out on set. Imagine being her. You show up to work thinking you're filming a dinner scene, and suddenly your coworker's chest explodes and you're covered in what looks like actual human organs. No wonder she almost fainted. The rest of the cast is screaming and jumping back, which is exactly what you would do if your friend suddenly became an alien birthing center. But the worst part about Kane's death isn't even the alien. It's that he probably felt his ribs snapping one by one as this thing clawed its way out. That's not a quick death. That's several seconds of feeling your skeleton getting demolished from the inside.
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm thinking that's not that bad. Like I get what he's saying, the science behind it, the pain receptors, everything that you're feeling in that moment, it bursting through your chest. You know what I'm saying? I get that, but I feel like this is number 10 for a reason. I can think of some worse things, you know what I'm saying? Some worse things that could happen to you, which can cause your death, to be a little bit more excruciating than this. But let's keep going.
Kane's chest explosion was brutal, but at least it was over fast. Unfortunately, Timothy Young from Saw 3 gets the opposite problem. Way too much time to think about what's happening to him. So Timothy wakes up strapped to this metal.
Oh, nah. See, look. And this is the shit I was talking about in a video that I did before in terms of like the Saw shit. You know what I'm saying? That nigga Saw is one of the craftiest, evil people known to man. Like look at my boy right now. This nigga is in the Diddy trap 3000. This nigga, you know what I'm saying, fully extended, choked out, arms blocked, legs locked up. This nigga cannot move. He can't do anything. He's helpless. Anybody come in that room tickling his butthole, he can't do nothing about it. He's in the Diddy trap right now as we speak. I don't get how Saul, he gotta build this shit. Wait. First of all, he gotta think of this shit. That's one. Then he gotta build this shit. He gotta bring it into real life, and then he gotta put a person in it. This nigga is
contraption that looks like someone took a medieval torture device and gave it some type of twisted update. His arms are spread out, his legs are locked in place, and there's this mechanical collar around his neck, and you just know this isn't gonna end with a nice massage.
At
the
all.
whole thing starts slow. The machine begins twisting his right arm, and you can actually hear the bones start to crack. Not a quick snap, a slow grinding sound while Timothy realizes his arm is being rotated way past where arms are supposed to rotate. And then his shoulder just
see, and look, and it's the same shit that I was telling y'all. Like when we did that reaction video to like the all the punishments and shit. The one that I fear the most, I don't give a fuck what anybody says, in the medieval times, when they put you on that table that stretches all your limbs and it's just constantly pulling you apart from like 4 different angles. That is one of the things that I don't wish on my worst enemy. I wouldn't want to, you know what I'm saying? I personally wouldn't want to go through it. I wouldn't want to see nobody go through it at all. Like that shit is like, that's extreme.
just gives up. But here's the thing that makes this so much worse than Kane's situation. Timothy gets to experience every single break individually. The rack isn't in a hurry. It moves to his left arm next. Same process. Slow twist, crack, hop. Now both his arms are destroyed and he still has 2 legs and a neck to go.
And you're awake the entire time. Some niggas will pass out. Like some people that can't handle pain, they'll pass out from shit like this. Wake up, the whole time now you just woke up to your right leg being twisted. Pass out again, wake up, now it's your fucking, you know what I'm saying, your left leg getting twisted. Some people fortunately could pass out. Now the niggas that can tolerate pain, well, tolerating is a little different in this situation because you're not tolerating, my nigga. You're suffering the entire time. I just don't understand how that nigga Saul could be so crafty and so evil to come up with something like this. Like, I hope my guy had a chance. Like, usually he'll give his captives a chance, you know what I'm saying, to get out of some shit. But if you're in the Diddy trap, how do you even get out? You know what I'm saying? Your life is in his hands at that exact point.
Medical reality here is pretty grim. When you break a bone, your body floods that area with pain signals. A single broken arm can make grown adults pass out. I would know because I broke my arm jumping off a play structure when I was in grade 2. The play structure was only 4 feet tall. I don't know how this happened, but I'm not lying to you.
It do happen. Story time. Quick little story time. When I was in, I want to say, it was 6th or 7th grade. I was in middle school, playing around with my friends in class. Shouldn't have been doing it. Dumbass shit. Rule number 1, don't play in school. I tripped over a book bag and tried to brace my fall backwards, and I fucking snapped my wrist. It didn't break through the bone, but that shit was, you know what I'm saying? My shit was like leaning bad. When I say leaning bad, my shit was leaning. I was done up. Only thing I could say is call my mom, call my mom. I didn't pass out. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't cry, none of that. Like, I think when you break a bone, you're just so much in shock. Like at first when I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed as shit. Like you fall, you know what I'm saying? You fall in front of the hubs and shit in 6th, 7th grade. You ain't trying to be doing that. But the moment I realized that it was broken is I tried to pick myself up off the ground, and it's like I can't. And then when you finally look at it, that's when the pain, like the pain receptors that he was talking about, that's where the pain receptors shoot to that area. Like when I say I felt that shit instantly. At first you didn't feel it. Well, at first I didn't feel it. I was more embarrassed than anything. And then by the time I looked down at that wrist and seen that my shit was doing the stankiest of legs, I was like, nah. Instantly shot. The pain instantly shot to my head, and I'm like, call my mom, call my mom, call my mom. But I didn't cry. I didn't pass out. Shit was painful, but I was too much of a real nigga like in 6th, 7th grade to be crying about that shit.
do right now. It was embarrassing. Timothy gets to collect the whole broken bone set. Each new break adds to the previous ones. So by the time the machine gets to his legs, his nervous system is basically screaming from 4 different locations. The legs are worse because leg bones are bigger. More force is needed to snap them. More time to feel it happening. The femur is the strongest bone in your body. So when the rack finally cracks it, Timothy probably felt it in his teeth. What really gets me though is that this whole torture session is supposed to teach someone else a lesson. Jeff, the guy who's supposed to save Timothy, is running around trying to find the key while Timothy is getting turned into a human pretzel. Jigsaw's whole thing is appreciate life, but apparently the way to do that is by slowly destroying someone's skeleton. The sound design in this scene alone is brutal too. Every crack and snap is loud and clear. You hear Timothy's breathing get more panicked with each break. By the time the collar starts turning his head, he's not even screaming anymore, just making these weak little sounds because his body has basically given up. And then his neck goes. Quick snap and it's over, which is honestly a mercy at that point because having every major bone in your body broken while you're awake is pretty much the worst case scenario for human suffering.
And imagine that nigga ain't even do nothing. Like he just said, you're being twisted and contorted and pretzelized in the Diddy trap because he's trying to teach some other nigga a lesson. Imagine you didn't do anything. Imagine you're just a friend of this nigga. You're a friend of this nigga and you're getting made example. Like he's trying to teach an example, but he's using you. He twisting your arms, twisting your legs, snapping your neck to teach the next nigga how to be a better person. Where's the correlation? I don't know.
At least Timothy's pain ended when his neck snapped, because Josh from Hostel gets the full deluxe package from a guy who probably failed medical school. Josh wakes up tied to a chair in what can only be described as the world's worst dentist office. Except instead of cleaning his teeth, this psycho businessman decides he wants to play doctor with a power drill in Josh's torso. Because apparently nothing screams being rich like drilling holes into a college kid from America. The whole thing starts with this guy casually explaining that he always wanted to be a surgeon, which is great. Nothing could possibly go wrong when someone with 0 medical training gets handed sharp objects and a helpless victim. Well, this is what happens when you let people buy their fantasies on the internet. So he fires up the drill and just starts making holes. Not surgical holes, random holes. Josh is screaming and this maniac is just drilling away like he's hanging up a picture frame, except the wall is a human being who can feel every second of the metal bit tearing through his skin and muscle. But here is where it gets really twisted. After turning Josh into Swiss cheese, the guy pulls out a knife and cuts his Achilles tendon. I can't even.
It just makes me nauseous
remembering this scene because it's so, yeah, he cuts both of them and then he unties Josh and says, "You're free to go." What a comedian.
You fucking bitch. That's like fucked up. You put holes in somebody and then you're slicing their Achilles. I think I can respect the holes in the body and then letting that nigga leave. But you're putting holes in his body, slicing his Achilles. You know, like that's your back. Ew. I'm thinking about that. He's slicing the back of this nigga heel, and then told him he's free to leave. That's some sick shit right there.
This guy is. Josh tries to stand up and immediately face plants because, surprise, you need those tendons to walk. The guy severed the cables that connect his calf muscles to his feet. So Josh is just lying there trying to figure out why his legs don't work anymore, while Mr. Failed Surgeon is probably feeling very pleased with his creativity. The Achilles thing is brilliant in the most horrible way possible, because it's not fatal, but it makes escape impossible. Josh can crawl around on the floor, but he's not going anywhere fast. And every time he tries to move, those cut up tendons are sending pain signals to his leg. Your Achilles tendon is basically a thick rubber band that is under constant tension. When you slice it, it snaps back up onto your calf muscle. That alone is agony. Then you've got all the nerve damage from the actual cut, plus the fact that your foot is now just flopping around doing whatever it wants. I would know because right now as I record this, I currently have a hurt Achilles tendon. I don't know what I did to it, but just putting any weight on it whatsoever is a ton of pain. Josh probably spent those last few minutes thinking about how he could have just stayed home and played video games instead of backpacking through Europe. But no, he has to go see the world. Well, congratulations, Josh. You got to see a basement in Slovakia where some weirdo practiced surgery on you. The throat cut at the end is basically mercy after all he's been through. So at least Josh's killer knew basic anatomy to finally end his suffering, because Nick from Bone Tomahawk discovers that sometimes the most primitive methods are also the most effective. So Nick is part of this rescue mission to save some kidnapped settlers from these cannibal cave people. And Nick gets captured, which means he's about to become the star of the worst cooking show ever filmed. These cannibals decide to start with an appetizer. They scalp him. They just saw off the top of his head with a knife and stuff his own scalp into his mouth, which is probably one of the most.
And that's one of the things that I ain't really fucking with either. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of movies, a lot of documentaries, a lot of situations where people are going to uninhabited lands and they're running into indigenous people who they think, you know what I'm saying? They think, oh, these niggas, they never seen people like me before. I could just waltz into their territory. I'm gonna be fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't speak their language. I don't wear their clothes. I don't know how to fucking do bow and arrow hunting like these niggas, but I'll go in and you're not fine. You're not fine at all. These niggas will literally, you know what I'm saying, capture you. They will capture, putting you in fucking wooden bamboo huts and you can't get out. You know what I'm saying? Putting mud all over your body, stripping you of your clothes, trying to cut you open, sacrificing your heart, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these indigenous people and these indigenous lands and they live in like prehistoric, they're living like that. Why would you want to go disturb that? Why would you want to be curious and try to, you know what I'm saying, interrupt that lifestyle? Like, these niggas will kill you on sight and do the crazy of things to your body. Why would you want to do that?
Most insulting ways to die. Not only are they killing you, they're also making you taste your own hair. But that is just the warm-up act, because two of these guys grab Nick's legs and flip him upside down. They then take a bone tomahawk, which is what it sounds like, and start chopping at his groin area. Not a quick chop.
Like, look how they're living. And you want to interrupt that? Niggas just hanging people upside down. Hacking at your Johnson, at your manhood. Why are they doing that? We will never know, but at the same time, why are we, you know what I'm saying? Let them do that. This is a type of indigenous people that don't need to be discovered. Let these niggas keep that way of life to themselves. We you know what I'm saying? Leave them alone.
They're taking their time. They're really committed to the process. And Nick gets to hang there watching them work. Here's what makes this medically horrifying. They start at the worst possible place. Your groin has a ton of nerve endings, more than most places on your body. If you're asking why, I shouldn't need to tell you that. That area is designed to be super sensitive for obvious reasons. So when they start hacking away down there, Nick's nervous system is basically getting hit with the pain signal that his brain won't even be able to process. Pretty much, he's probably gonna go into shock just from a couple hits. Then they just keep going up through his pelvis, which means breaking through the pubic bone, through his stomach, which means slicing through all of his organs, through his chest, which means cracking through his ribs and sternum.
Splitting this nigga in half.
Two separate people, and he gets to experience the whole journey. The worst part is that Nick probably stayed conscious for way longer than anyone should. When you're upside down, blood stays in your brain longer, which means he got to feel more of the process than if they'd done it right side up. These primitive cave people accidentally figured out the most painful way to split someone in half. What really gets me is that this whole rescue mission was supposed to save people from the cannibals, but Nick ends up getting the most creative death in the entire movie.
Trying to play
Cannibals
savior.
live in caves and eat people, but they clearly understand human anatomy better than the businessman from Hostel. By the time they reach his chest, Nick finally stops screaming, which is probably the only mercy in this entire situation. So Nick's suffering finally ends, but our next victim got torn apart by creatures with PhDs in pain, because Rhodes in Day of the Dead learns that being a complete jerk doesn't make you zombie proof. So Captain Rhodes is this military guy who spends the entire movie being absolutely terrible to everyone. He's rude to the scientists, mean to his own soldiers, and generally acts like the kind of person who yells at old ladies in the grocery store. The zombies have basically taken over the world, and this guy's biggest concern is making sure everyone knows he's in charge. Well, the zombies break into their underground bunker, and Rhodes tries to make a run for it. Except Bub, this smart zombie who learned how to use guns, shoots him in the stomach, which is already pretty.
See, this is one of the crazy things, right? A zombie apocalypse is more likely than all this other shit. Imagine a smart zombie, like, it would be us, right? If a zombie apocalypse was to happen, we're not getting the Walking Dead zombies. You know what I'm saying? The niggas that, like, obviously if you walk fast enough, run fast enough, you can run circles around these niggas and your life is not in danger. This nigga just said a zombie, a smart one, learned to fucking operate a gun. A zombie. You're telling me? Stop it, bro. If we get a zombie apocalypse and these niggas is knowing they're smart enough to open doors, they're smart enough to, you know what I'm saying, come up with these elaborate ways to trap you. If these niggas are smart enough to fucking operate guns, I'm talking about load the clip, put a bullet in it, pull the trigger, shoot you, just so you can't run away and then just walk up on you and eat you. Those are the zombies that we're getting. I'm good, bro. I don't even think I want a chance. I don't want a chance. I don't.
Bad. Getting shot hurts, but Rhodes isn't dead yet, just wounded and bleeding. Then he stumbles into a room full of regular zombies who are way less interested in his leadership skills and are way more interested in his internal organs. These zombies grab Rhodes and just start pulling. Not biting, pulling. They get his arms, they get his legs, and they even have this little tug of war situation going on. Except the rope is a human being who's still very much awake and alive for the whole thing. The zombies win. Rhodes gets ripped in half right at the waist. His top half and his bottom half become two separate items. Here's the really messed up part. He's still alive. Still conscious, still talking. He gets to watch zombies pull his intestines out and start eating them while he was still using them. But Rhodes, being the stubborn jerk he is, uses his last moments to yell at the zombies. His final words are, which is probably the most Rhodes thing he could possibly say. Even when getting eaten alive, this guy is still an insecure, overconfident douche. Medical reality here is pretty grim. Getting torn in half means all your major organs are suddenly outside your body where they don't belong. Your stomach, liver, kidneys, they're all just hanging out in the open air while zombies treat them like a buffet. The worst part is that Rhodes feels all of it. Getting disemboweled doesn't kill you instantly. You can stay conscious for a few minutes while you watch your own organs get pulled out, which means Rhodes got to experience the full horror of being turned into zombie lunch while still being aware enough to be annoyed about it. But at least Rhodes got eaten by mindless creatures instead of supernatural ones. Because Olga from Suspira finds out that interpretive dance can be a lot more dangerous than anyone realized. So Olga is this ballet dancer at a prestigious dance academy that's secretly run by witches, which honestly should have been obvious from the start because dance teachers are already pretty scary without adding supernatural powers. But Olga decides she wants to quit the academy, which is apparently not the kind of place where you just hand in a 2 weeks notice. The witches decide to teach her a lesson using their signature move, making dance deadly. While the main character Susie is upstairs doing this really intensive routine, Olga gets locked in a practice room downstairs where she becomes an unwilling participant in the world's worst dance-along video. Every move Susie makes upstairs, Olga has to copy downstairs. Except Olga's version involves her bones breaking. Susie does a dramatic arm sweep. Olga's shoulder dislocates with a loud pop. Susie spins around. Olga's spine twists until her—
And see, look, this why, right? If you know your history, during the Salem witch trials, they're not playing that. You know what I'm saying? This is what them witches is capable of. Niggas is showing you in real time. That's why during that time period, if anybody, you know what I'm saying, if you even do the magicalest of things, if you make something appear that wasn't there, guess what? Which, because we're not dealing with this. We're not dealing with this. This girl's being controlled by a dancer. Like what they said, she was above her. Everything she did, she's doing it, but feeling pain. That's why you don't fuck with that witchcraft shit. You don't fuck with that ballerina shit. You know what I'm saying? Them two correlate way too well. Avoid both at all costs.
Her ribs crack. It's basically the most violent game of Simon Says ever made. But here's what makes this worse than all the previous deaths that we've talked about. This isn't quick. The witches are taking their sweet time, making sure Olga experiences every single bone breaking individually. Her left arm snaps, then her right arm, then her legs. It's methodical, professional. These witches have clearly done this before. Olga's trying to fight it, but you can't really argue with supernatural forces. Her body is moving against her will, bending in ways that human bodies absolutely should not bend. Her shin bone breaks so hard it pokes through her skin. Her jaw gets dislocated. One of her eyes starts bulging out because they broke something in her face. The worst part is she stays conscious through it all. Usually when people get this badly injured, shock kicks in and they pass out. But the witches want her awake. They want her to feel every snap and crack. By the end, she's basically a human accordion that someone stepped on. Olga ends up peeing herself and throwing up, which is what happens when your nervous system gets completely overwhelmed. Her body just gives up on all basic functions because they're too busy trying to process pain signals from literally everywhere at once. When the witches finally show up to finish her off, she's still alive, but barely making any noise. Just soft whimpering sounds because even screaming hurts too much. So Olga's supernatural torture was brutal. But our next death uses just plain old physics, because Ashley and Ashlyn from Final Destination 3 prove that even beauty treatments can turn into torture. These two girls decide to skip a memorial service so they can get their tan on before a party, because nothing says honoring the dead like making sure your skin is the right shade of orange. So what do? They head to this tanning salon that clearly hasn't had a safety inspection since the Clinton administration. They climb into these side-by-side tanning beds that look innocent enough. Just some UV bulbs and a timer. What could go wrong? Well, apparently everything, because this is a Final Destination movie. The machines start overheating because some plant falls over and blocks the air vents and something short circuits and I don't know, which is already a bad sign when you're basically lying inside a giant light bulb. At first, the girls don't notice anything wrong. They're just lying there probably thinking about how great they're gonna look at this party. Then the temperature starts climbing and climbing, and then the beds won't open because the lids are stuck. So now Ashley and Ashlyn are trapped inside what's basically become an oven set to crisp.
And started cooking these niggas, literally cooking these niggas. I'm not a person who lives in fear, but I watch all of the Final Destination movies. I love them, good ass movies, but they really open my eyes to realize that a lot of shit really be luck of the draw. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that can happen to you. That's why I'm not a big fan of going in saunas. I'm really not. Because, you know what I'm saying, if I was to ever go into a sauna, I feel like if some shit was to go wrong, it would go wrong while I'm in there. And guess what? I'm trapped in there now. Niggas, even if niggas is trying to get me out, I'm stuck. I can't get out. That's why I don't like to put myself in situations where, you know what I'm saying, some Final Destination type shit can occur. Granted, you know what I'm saying, in that Final Destination universe, it don't matter what the fuck you do. If it's your turn in that universe, the universe is going to make sure that they get you. Unless you in fucking a white room, you know what I'm saying? Arms in a fucking, what's that suit called? Like the little crazy suits there. That's the only way that you're safe. But other than that, the universe is going to find a way to fucking get you. They're for sure.
The bulbs are getting hotter and hotter, and they're starting to realize that this isn't normal tanning bed heat. This is my skin is actually frying like a chicken tender at KFC heat. The medical reality of what happens next is pretty horrific. When your skin gets burned, it goes through stages. First degree burns just hurt and turn red. Second degree burns blister and sting. Third degree burns actually destroy the nerve endings, which sounds good until you realize that means your skin is literally being cooked off your body. Ashley and Ashlyn get to experience all three stages in real time. They're screaming and pounding on the glass, but nobody can hear them because the salon is basically empty. They're watching their skin turn red, then blister, then start to char while they're still fully conscious. What the worst part is that they're breathing superheated air, which means their lungs are getting cooked from the inside too. Every breath is gonna feel like swallowing fire. Their airways are swelling shut while their skin is bubbling and peeling off. Then the bulbs start exploding from the heat. So now they've got glass shards raining down on their already burned bodies, because apparently just burning alive wasn't quite enough. But by the time someone finds them, they're basically human jerky. But at least those girls just died from a horrible accident instead of deliberate cruelty, because Sergeant Howie from The Wicker Man gets the full religious experience, whether he wants it or not. So Howie is this really devout Christian cop who comes to this remote Scottish island to investigate a missing girl. The locals are all pagans who worship nature and do weird folk dances, which should have been his first clue to get back on the damn boat. But Howie's determined to find this missing kid because he's a good cop and a good Christian. Famous last words. Turns out the whole missing girl thing was just bait. The islanders needed a virgin sacrifice for their harvest ritual, and apparently Howie fits the bill perfectly, which you might think is pretty funny for a grown man. But let's just say I'm not going to judge him too hard. Moving on, they march him up to this giant wicker man structure that's filled with farm animals and has a nice Howie-sized compartment in the chest. The locals are all singing and dancing around like it's a music festival, except instead of overpriced beer, they're serving up human sacrifice. Once they light the thing on fire, Howie tries to stay strong. He starts reciting Psalms 23 and praying really loudly, probably hoping that God will send down some divine intervention. But God apparently has other plans that day, because the fire just keeps climbing higher. The thing about burning alive is that it's basically every pain receptor in your body going off at once. The fire starts at his feet and works its way up. So Howie gets to feel each part of his body cooking in sequence. First his legs start burning, then his torso, then his arms. And he's outside, so there's no smoke to knock him out. He gets the full experience. His skin blisters and bubbles. His hair is gonna catch fire. The air he's breathing is so hot, it's burning his throat and lungs from the inside. But the worst part is that he can see the islanders the whole time. They're not horrified.
Just dancing. Imagine that. Nigga, like you're the sacrifice. And niggas is literally dancing at your grave. They're just swinging, singing jolly good songs. These niggas are not normal, bro.
By what they're doing. They're celebrating, singing songs and clapping while he screams and begs for help.
Oh, nah. See, look, Grant, if I'm in there, I'm already pissed because obviously I'm going to die. I'm getting burned alive. But these niggas are emoting. They're emoting on you. You can't do nothing about it. Nothing about it. You're trapped in there, burning. And the only thing you can see is these niggas just swinging. Just swinging. And don't let the song actually be good and catchy. And that's the last thing you hear. I'd be fucking pissed. Literally
Lord
pissed.
Summerisle is standing there explaining how this is all for the greater good, while Howie's literally on fire.
Bullshit.
Howie's prayers eventually turn into screams, which turn into silence as the fire finally does its job. The whole Wickerman collapses in a shower of sparks, taking Howie with it. Now, Howie's death was public theater, but our next killer prefers to kill in private. Because in Terrifier 2,
this
clown
nigga
turns a teenage girl's bedroom into a big red mess. Allie is just a normal high school girl doing normal high school things on Halloween night, probably scrolling through social media and thinking about whether she has homework due tomorrow and obsessed with other Halloween stuff. Then Art the clown shows up and decides her evening.
You open the door, you see this face right here. You know what I'm saying? You open the door. It's Halloween. You know what I'm saying? You're chilling. You vibing. Had a good ass day. Maybe even a stressful day. You open the door and it's fucking Art the clown. It's nothing you can do. It's nothing you can do. From what because we reacted to some shit where he's a demon. He's supernatural. You can't kill him. You can't. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's a way to, and I think in the latest movie they found a way to beat him somehow, some way. I don't know how. But you're not them, you know what I'm saying? You're not in the movie. You're the everyday pedestrian person. You're that person that dies in the movie. That day you might as well not even go nowhere. You see Art the clown, you sit your ass on the floor and let that nigga do whatever the fuck you want, and you better hope that it's quick. You're not getting out of this.
Needs a lot more creativity and a lot more screaming. Now, Art doesn't believe in quick deaths. He's more of a craftsman, someone who takes pride in his work and really wants to explore all the different ways a human body can be modified. And Allie becomes his latest project. He starts with her face, using a scalpel to carve up one of her eyes and split her cheek open, which is already pretty bad. Art's just getting warmed up. Your face has a ton of nerve endings, so that cut is gonna feel exactly as horrible as you'd expect it would. And then Art decides Allie needs a new haircut, except instead of using clippers, he uses a blade to saw off the entire top of her scalp. Just peels it right off her skull and leaves her sitting there with her brain case exposed to the air. So now there's blood everywhere, and Allie can probably feel the cool bedroom air on parts of her head that were never meant to experience the weather. But Art's not done just yet. He flips her over and starts removing large sections of skin from her back with a knife, just peeling it off strip by strip like it's beef jerky. Then he grabs her arm and twists it until it comes off at the elbow. The really sick part is what Art does next. He goes to the kitchen and comes back with bleach and salt. Then he pours bleach into all her open wounds and rubs salt into the areas where he removed her skin, which is insane. And then when Allie's mom finally showed,
like literally rubbing salt in the wound, that nigga, he took that a little too literally.
Allie is somehow still alive, still breathing, still aware of what's happening to her, which means that she has felt every single cut, every single piece of skin being removed, every grain of salt burning into her raw flesh. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Art's bedroom torture session was sickening, but there's still one death that's scientifically and medically worse. And that is from Martyrs, because Anna discovers that some religious experiences are just too far. So Anna gets captured by this secret society of rich people who believe that if you torture someone enough, they'll achieve enlightenment and tell you what happens after death, which is probably the most messed up cult thing I've ever heard of. These people have been doing this for the years, systematically torturing victims to try and create a martyr who can glimpse the afterlife. Anna wins this crazy lottery and gets selected for their ultimate experiment. They strap her down and bring in an actual surgeon who proceeds to remove all of her skin, all of it, every single inch except for a little bit on her face that they leave so she can still communicate what she's experiencing. Now here's why this is scientifically the most painful death possible. Your skin is your largest organ, if you didn't know, and it contains a ton of pain receptors. Every square inch is packed with nerve endings that are specifically designed to tell your brain when something is wrong. It's supposed to protect you. The surgeon is essentially activating every single pain receptor Anna has, all at the same time. But they don't just rip her skin off. That would be too quick. They carefully peel it away section by section with surgical precision. Anna gets to feel every cut, every pull, every inch of skin being separated from her body while she's fully awake and aware of what's happening. The cult members are standing around taking notes when this happens, probably thinking they're conducting some kind of profound spiritual research. Meanwhile, Anna is experiencing pain levels that shouldn't be possible for a human nervous system to process. Her entire body is basically one giant exposed nerve. And when they're finished, Anna is still alive and still conscious, just lying there without skin, looking at these people who think they've done something meaningful. Her muscle tissue and fat are exposed to the air. Every breath probably feels like getting stabbed everywhere at once. The really twisted part is that Anna apparently does achieve some kind of transcendent state near the end. The pain is so intense that her brain basically short circuits and she starts seeing visions or whatever these lunatics were hoping for. But before she gets to that point, she experiences what is essentially the maximum amount of pain the human body can generate. Every pain receptor firing at once. So there you have it. After researching pain receptors, nerve endings, and way too many horror movie deaths, Anna's flaying in Martyrs is clearly the winner.
Yeah, I believe that one might be the worst. You know what I'm saying? Imagine like every single part of your skin not being on your body. Every single pain, like every possible pain mechanism humanly possible, you're feeling all at one time. And he said it like if you're breathing actively, just trying to stay alive, you know what I'm saying? You're feeling that over and over and over. This video running long, longer than I expected, but that was the 10 most brutal deaths in horror movie history. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you enjoy the content. We're out of here. Peace.